对，1、2、4。1、2、4。
各位记者朋友。
Good afternoon. Welcome to today's press briefing. First of all, this week is the 34th National Energy Conservation Week under the theme of Green Transition Energy Saving Endeavors. And today is this year's National Low Carbon Day with the theme of Green and Low Carbon Development for a Beautiful China. We always uphold and act on the principle that lucid waters and large mountains are invaluable assets, and we always remember to maintain harmony between man and nature when planning our development. Efforts were made to accelerate the transition to a model of green development for a green and low carbon economy and society. I believe you also noticed that today the AC in lighting is at a higher temperature, and the lighting in some public spaces is off. We will join this common effort, start by making personal contribution and start with small things in our daily life to actively respond to climate change, lead a green and low-carbon lifestyle, and contribute to the harmony between man and nature, and build a clean and beautiful world. Then, an announcement. At the invitation of member of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee and Minister for Foreign Affairs Wang Yi, Tanzania's Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation January Makamba will pay an official visit to China from May the 16th to 20th. Now the floor is open.
谢谢发言人。
Today, the Palestinians mark 76 years of the Nakba. The ongoing Palestinian-Israeli conflict has killed more than 35,000 Palestinians in Gaza, and there is no sign of de-escalation. According to the UN, close to 450,000 Palestinians have fled Rafah. Do you have any comments? 76 years ago, over half of the Palestinian population fled or were driven from their homes during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Many of them became refugees in Gaza. And now the historical injustice suffered by the Palestinian people, far from being addressed, has further worsened. Today, Gaza Strip is left in ruins and rubble. Those wounded and ill cannot receive timely treatment, and hungry people cannot obtain basic necessities, and those escaping from the disaster have nowhere to go. People cannot help but ask, for how long will the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza drag on, and when will the Palestinian people be able to see an end to their suffering? China firmly opposes the expansion of the fighting to Rafah and opposes collective punishment on the people in Gaza. We support the establishment of an independent state of Palestine that enjoys full sovereignty based on the 1967 border and with East Jerusalem as its capital. We support full UN membership of Palestine at an early date. China will continue to work with the international community to push for the comprehensive, just, and lasting solution of a Palestinian question at an early date, so that the Nakba will become memories of bygone days, and the peaceful and harmonious coexistence between Palestine and Israel and between Arabs and Jews will be realized. Next one.
AFP, I have a question on the U.S. additional tariffs on Chinese products such as EVs and semiconductors. In yesterday's press briefing, you said that China will take necessary measures to defend our legitimate rights and interests. Can you give us more details? Will China impose more tariffs on U.S.?
Chinese competent authorities have released readouts in respect of this, and you can refer to that. The U.S. side keeps politicizing economic and trade issues. It is another mistake. It will push up the costs of trade, and the consumers and the U.S. people will suffer the loss. According to the Moody's, the American consumers bear 92% of the higher costs, and households' annual expense has been increased by $1,300. And European politicians have said that added tariffs are the worst policy that will undermine the global trade. And we urge the U.S. side to abide by the WTO rules and stop this. And we will do everything we can to safeguard our own interests and rights. Next one. Currently, the permanent mission in Vienna of China held a workshop titled AUKUS, a case study about the development of IAEA comprehensive safeguards. Can you brief us more on that? On May 10th, the Chinese permanent mission in Vienna held this workshop. Participants include those from nearly 50 missions in Vienna, IAEA Secretariat, and think tanks, 100 people in total. All sides discussed the safeguards of AUKUS nuclear submarine cooperation. This kind of cooperation harms efforts to safeguard regional peace and security. The AUKUS is formed to advance cooperation on nuclear submarines. It will instigate arms race, impact international non-proliferation regime, and provoke bloc confrontation. It will be a harm to regional peace and stability. We have expressed serious concerns and firm opposition multiple times. This kind of cooperation raised international concerns over proliferation concerns. The cooperation is about transfer of nuclear power reactors and large amount of weapon-grade HEU. The current IAEA safeguards cannot fully work in respect of this, and the international community has concern over the stipulations, interpretation, and application. If this kind of cooperation keeps going on, it will be a huge risk of proliferation. China urges the international community to be serious about the impact of such cooperation on the authority and effectiveness of NPT, as well as the impact on IAEA safeguards. The international community should study the political, legal, and technological issues in terms of this, and before we have a clear mind of this, we should stop.
TV Asahi. According to reports on the battlefield in Ukraine, the Russian military used products made by Chinese companies such as all-terrain vehicles made by Shandong Audasi and infrared thermal imagers made by Yantai Aurui. China has always called for a ceasefire and neutrality. What's your comment on the use of Chinese products and technologies in the Russia-Ukraine war? Besides, following the recent meeting between Chinese and French presidents, President Macron said that China promised to strictly control the export of weapons and dual-use products to Russia. Based on what has been said, what's the position of the ministry?
China does not accept any statement of smear and shifting blames against China. In terms of Ukraine, China handles export of military items in a prudent and responsible manner and controls strictly the export of dual-use articles, including drones for civilian use. China is neither the creator or a party of the conflict, but we do not stand by and add fuel to the conflict. We promote peace talks. Shifting blames to China will not solve any problem. And I also want to stress that trade between China and Russia is done overboard. It is in accordance with the WTO rules and market principles. It's not targeted against any third party, and it brooks no interference and coercion from the other sides. And our legitimate rights and interests shall now be infringed upon. Next one.
As a follow-up to the question on U.S. tariffs, does China see the U.S. tariffs as the start of a reversal in bilateral ties again? What would China do to protect its industries and exports from not just the tariffs, but from what China sees as U.S. suppression? Thank you.
希望记者重复一下提问. Could you repeat your question, please? Please turn on your microphone. Please turn on your microphone, please.
Hello, yes. Does China see the U.S. tariffs as the start of a reversal in bilateral ties again? And what would China do to protect its industries and exports from not just the tariffs, but from what China sees as U.S. suppression? Thank you.
路透社提问：我想追问关于美方对中国加征关税的问题，中方是否认为此次加征关税是中美关系中再次倒退，以及中方是会否采取任何行动来保护其出口还有工产业不受美国的关税以及中方认为美方的压迫的影响？
I was pretty clear about our principled position. I would like to reaffirm that China firmly opposes any practice against WTO rules and added tariffs by the U.S. side, and we will take necessary measures to protect our legitimate rights and interests. Next one.
法新社
AFP 5 commercial vessels with 200 Filipinos on board has sailed to disputed sea areas in the South China Sea. The aim is to uphold its maritime rights and sovereignty. Did China notice this trip, and what's China's comment?
你能再重复一下？
Could you repeat your question? Yesterday, 5 commercial vessels with 200 Filipino fishermen on board sailed to the disputed areas in the South China Sea. The trip is to uphold sovereignty in the disputed sea. Did China notice this, and what's China's comment?
黄岩
The island is our territory, and we have irredisputable sovereignty over this. And we had goodwill arrangements about the fishing practices, and we have arrangements about supervision over such activities. China will take necessary measures in accordance with law to protect ourselves against any practices going against such stipulation.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
Reuters, YouTube has said it disagreed with, but will comply with the court decision to ban a protest anthem called Glory to Hong Kong. It will block access to the song Inside Hong Kong. What is China's response to YouTube's decision and criticism of the court's decision?
路透社提问 ：YouTube 虽然不同意香港相关法院的决定，但是决定要执行其决定，也就是在香港不允许《荣光回归香港》这一歌曲上线。那么，中方对于YouTube 的批评以及决定有何回应？
制止任何
Stop anyone from instigating practices that provokes secession and humiliating anthem is our legitimate and necessary measure.
谢发言人，总台央视记者提问：近期美国国务院。
Recently, a U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State and China coordinator said that Resolution 2758 does not endorse, equate to, or reflect an international consensus on the One China principle. A program director of the German Marshall Fund of the United States said that the PRC's position on Resolution 2758 are not consistent with international law. What's your comment? For some time, some U.S. officials, out of hidden agenda, have repeatedly made remarks to challenge the authority of UNGA Resolution 2758, trumpet the notion that Taiwan's status is undermined. Undetermined and advocate support for Taiwan's meaningful participation in the UN system. These remarks distort facts and history and go against the commitment of the U.S. itself. Taiwan has been part of China since ancient times. It's a historical fact and international consensus. The Cairo Declaration and the Potsdam Proclamation clearly stipulated that Taiwan, a Chinese territory stolen by Japan, shall be restored to China. These documents, with international legal effect, formed an integral part of the post-World War II international order and also confirmed Taiwan's status as China's inalienable territory from a legal perspective. On October 25, 1971, the 26th AUKUS session adopted Resolution 2758 with an overwhelming majority, resolving once and for all the question of representation of the whole of China, including Taiwan, in the United Nations as a political, legal, and procedural issue. It made clear that there's only one China in the world and that Taiwan is part of China, not a country. It made clear that there is only one seat of China in the United Nations. There is no two Chinas or one China or one Taiwan. The U.S. is a signatory to the Cairo Declaration and the Potsdam Proclamation. In 3 joint communiques, the U.S. clearly states that the government of the United States of America recognizes China's position that there is only one China and Taiwan is part of China. The U.S. leaders have for multiple times made commitments of not supporting Taiwan independence. But now the U.S. is publicly questioning and misinterpreting UNGA Resolution 2758, fudging and hollowing out the One China principle and the trumpeting for the participation of Taiwan in the UN system only for sovereign countries. This violates the commitment that it made and seeks to turn back the wheel of history. The false statements are reminiscent of the U.S. claim not long ago that the Security Council Resolution 2728 demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza is non-binding. The times has gone when hegemony and power politics dominated international relations. Any country, including the U.S., who tries to challenge the UNGA resolution and the One China principle will only find this futile. Before the adoption of the Resolution 2758, the U.S. came up with a so-called dual representation proposal to create two Chinas or one China, one Taiwan. In the end, the proposal was discarded. Today, the U.S. is trying again to go against the trend of times by playing the Taiwan card and using Taiwan to contain China. It will end up in greater failure. Next one. Any other questions?
Putin will be visiting Beijing this week. We understand that Chinese Premier Li Qiang will also be visiting Moscow soon. Will Li Qiang be visiting Moscow in August? And if not, could we have an idea of when is his visit scheduled for? Thank you.
路透社提问。我们知道俄罗斯总统普京将于本周访问北京，我们也了解到中国总理李强将访问莫斯科，是在8月访问吗？如果不是，什么时候会访问？
Could you repeat your question, please?
Yes, Russian President Putin is visiting China this week. We understand that Chinese Premier Li Qiang will also be visiting Moscow soon. Will his visit in Moscow be in August? If not, could you please give an idea when is his visit scheduled for?
路透社提问。
China and Russia are comprehensive partnership of coordination for the new era. The leaders from two sides maintain close contact, and I have no further information to share with you in terms of the question you asked. Other announcement. Because of the scheduling arrangements, the press conference for tomorrow will start early at 2:00 p.m. at the same location. Thank you.